Brilliant, brilliant. We are live. We are live, and we're going to continue. We're going to continue with the readings from the book, Biella series books. Yeah, not the Biella series books. Ask Biella books. I don't know where Bina is. She was here a second ago, and then I don't know where she went to. Still shows online. Uh, I'm assuming she'll come any second now. I don't know what happened to her. I don't know what happened to her. I want to talk about perception before we start reading while I do the sharing. Perception and perspective and cognition, conception, understanding, awareness, how we relate and how we connect to. We tend to assume that, when we say something that others will understand more or less, right? We use the same words, but that's not always so. Why? Because things apply in different contexts. So when I say, something is important to me, what do I mean? Do I mean it's important to me today? It's important that I have to do it today, or is it important to me this week, this month, this year, right? In this lifetime? Very different. So just that one word, importance, what matters, it depends. It's relative to the context. Yes? Many things, many things, many words are relative to how they are meant, relative to the individual, relative to especially the context. Words change their meaning depending on the context. That's why I use such, capitalized terms, capital D diplomacy, capital T trust, because there's a deeper context in which they apply. I'm not changing the underlying essential nature of the word. I'm simply putting it into a bigger context, a more thorough context, a deeper context, right? Like importance. I don't change the essential meaning of the word, but how that word gets applied makes a very real difference when you start to relate to it in context, right? Context, very, very, very important, and it's very, very necessary for us to pay attention to context and to really understand context. When we are in a bubble context, then things only get related and filtered through that bubble context. Yes. Now take racism as a good example of people that get very much caught up in a bubble context, and sadly, it distorts their entire worldview. Yes, and they start to believe things that aren't true. They believe, that if you're not of my race, then you are lesser, you're bad, and look at the whole thing with like immigrants and they're all criminals. Why? Because they're different. Yeah, see what I mean? It distorts your worldview. It absolutely corrupts everything. And this is a very big deal to be aware of, contextual perception and how your own personal context affects your perception. If you have a particular belief and you think this is the only belief, create a bubble. Wow, 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 wow. I just realized why my background picture is the first picture of the chapter we're going to read later on. But boy, does it represent bubbleness? Absolutely. Yeah. Bubbles around and bubbles inside. Again, just the magic of moreness. Completely and utterly coincidental. Yes, it's just how it works out. That's amazing. So this bubble perception, if we are, and we've all experienced this, right? With, all right, let's say people are into conspiracy theories. I don't want to use religion as an example, even though it is an excellent example of people getting caught up in bubbles and how it distorts everything. But when you get caught up in a bubble and you have a bubble belief, that bubble belief can distort absolutely everything else around you. Yes? If you in this bubble belief that the world is an evil place and everybody's out to exploit you and everything there, you tend to see this, and all you can relate to is this, right? And it's about emphasis. Now, when we understand how emphasis works, the classic example is you go to the dealer and you buy your nice new car. Man, yes, okay, I'm going to get this red car. And this is a well-known example. You can go and look it up. It's been much documented and everybody's familiar with it. You drive home from the dealership and you all really love your new car. You're all excited. You've got your partner with you and your kids and whoever, right? You're all excited about your car. You're sharing it on social media, or at least hopefully while you're driving. But anyway, my point is, while you're driving home, you suddenly look around. Hey, it's another red car. Hey, another one. And suddenly you see red cars everywhere, right? It's just suddenly there's zillions of them. Wow, there were never that many red cars before. Now, how come today I buy this red car and suddenly there's all these red cars? There aren't any more red cars than there were. However, if you put that person on a lie detector right there in that moment and say, are there more red cars than usual? They will say yes, and it will come up as true. Yeah? They will really, absolutely, utterly, thoroughly be convinced that on that day they suddenly are seeing more red cars. There are more red cars on the road than there were any other time. But statistically, you can go to the traffic monitoring videos and do a thing, and you say, no, the same amount of the same percentage of red cars than they are typically. Right? There may even be less, but the person is noticing more. Noticing. Our brain has a filter, and it filters out tons of stuff every day, right? Because we can't handle it all. And especially if you don't live with deliberate awareness, you filter out even more. Huh? And capital hearing, paying attention. Well, now we start to be in charge of our filter a little more. So we notice things a bit more. But when we aren't doing that, then, we filter out a ton of stuff. Now, that brain, because of the emphasis, now is set the filter to notice red cars. And you do, of course, right? This is the magic of perception. It is an incredible thing, this magic of perception. It is incredibly powerful. Our reality is changed by our emphasis, by what's important to us, by our focus, by our attention, by what matters to us. It changes our reality. Now, when I say this, you say, yeah, but so you were saying that if you go look at the traffic monitor, the traffic is the same. Yes, but also it can also change things, maybe not change the traffic, but your attention can change your reality in other ways. Now, how do I mean this? Well, okay, for instance, I've had this conversation many times with people who had to change jobs for whatever reason, or were looking for a job that came out of university or whatever. And I said, change your focus. They said, man, it's really hard. I just graduated. I remember one example specifically. The person I think they were an aeronautics engineer. This was their degree. This was now many years ago now, but not in today's climate, where, especially in America, there are more jobs than there are people to fill them. There's a shortage of people to fill jobs, right? So it's a buyer's market for the jobs. But this was probably, oh gosh, it's more than 10, it's like 15 years ago now. Wow. 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 I didn't realize it was that long. Anyway, so this graduate was saying, man, I can't find any jobs for my job. And I said, you know, shift your focus. Don't look for jobs for an aeronautic engineer. Open up and be responsive to any job that will be a cool job, that will be a nice job, without having an idea what it may be. Okay, he was a bit dubious, but he said, okay, I'll try it. And he thought about it and said, okay, I'll give it a real good go. And he did. And, it wasn't long. It was actually about a week later. It wasn't even that long. He said, oh my God, I've got this dream job. I've got this dream job. I never in a million years would ever have thought to even look for this job, even consider it. But when I opened, I saw this and I applied it. They gave it to me. And it says it's completely in a different field, but it's a dream job. I say, I'm so pleased I didn't get a job in aeronautic engineering and I have this job. Why? Because he was open. Right. Now, this is what I mean by well, at least one part of it, where I'm saying that our perception can change our reality, and our bubble, our understanding can change it. Yes. And you can, however it works, whether or not we are simply filtering or not, doesn't matter. The end result is that my reality is different. Yes, like in that case of my friend. Yes, he shifted his filter, he shifted his attention, he shifted his awareness, and he connected to more. It doesn't matter whether it was statistically or theoretically, or if you go into the detail of it. That doesn't matter how it worked. As a perception, as an experience, his reality changed because of a shift of attention. Okay, and this is a big part of so much. Bina, where you? Where you, Bina? Where you? Where you? Where you? Where you? Where you? I hope Norma's here too. I've just been sharing the things now. Just done with the sharing, so now I can get to see comments. I'm not seeing comments there yet. Norma not there yet. I think Norma's got a lot of stuff going. Sharing, so now. Oh, that's very loud. That's very loud. I want to make sure you are hearing me. Yes, you are. Brilliant, brilliant. Oh, all very good. All very good indeed. Okay. Now, to continue what I was saying, this understanding that our attention can change much is a very big deal, and this is what's been happening with the podcast series, and just my shift to sharing and moreness. I've been doing it for a while now, but I've been very focused lately on sharing the moreness paradigm, right, which is an alternative paradigm to the superiority paradigm. There are many paradigms, but this is one, right? A moreness paradigm, which includes nobelia, nobility, and all of the stuff, right? There are lots to my moreness paradigm. It's not only mine, but to a moreness paradigm. Anybody can have a moreness paradigm. I have my own moreness paradigm. You can have yours, right? Now, on doing these interviews with Jill Nicolini, I apologize. Well, it's not my doing. Somehow I got given a different name, and when I first put these up, I had a wrong name there. It's Jill Nicolini. Yeah. So thank you, Lisa, for alerting me to that. Somehow I got the wrong name from somewhere, and it crept in, and I shared it, and I put it in the announcement and everything with Jill Nicolini. And there's a link to her, and I put that in there. I'll put it in the announcement for today as well. And I'll be uploading the video as well. Anyway, my participation and these interviews are taking off. They're exploding. They're going crazy. They want me now to do a TV show, my own show, right? So the advertisers and the people from the show, they all love this, right? So I'll say more about it when it comes more, because there's a lot of prep involved and a lot of stuff involved, and documentary coming, and I have to go to New York and all sorts of stuff coming, right? Why? Because we started to shift the attention on this, and Bina's a part of this, which I wish Bina was here, because this is something we did together. Where you, Bina? Where you? Where you? Where you? Where you? Where you? Where you? I mean, it's showing Bina still on. Something must have happened over there. I don't know what, but all right. Uh, all right. Well, we'll just wait. We keep going. Anyhow, I'm saying that when you pay attention, things happen. Now, of course, we like to pay attention and say yes, but I've been paying attention to Ferraris, and I really, really want a Ferrari. We also have to understand that, do you truly, truly believe you're going to get a Ferrari out of nothing? Now, if you truly believed it, I truly believe that you would get that Ferrari out of nothing. Yes. But to have that kind of a belief, and to truly believe to that extent you're going to get something out of nothing, it takes a lot of energy. I have seen this happen. I have experienced it myself, where things happen that I had a specific intent and will to happen, which were exceedingly improbable, and the whole world had to shift. So yes, it can happen, but understand that it is connected. Your perceptions are connected to your beliefs, your reality, what you truly, truly in your deepest, deepest heart believe. If you go on that universal lie detector and say, "Do you really believe you're going to get this?" Yeah, you'll say yes, and it'll go, sorry. Right? So it takes a lot of skill and energy and effort to have a conviction that something will be so. There has to be support for it. Our brains don't want to just say that I'm convinced it will happen out of nothing. Our brains very much go against that, right? Now, when you have supporting reasons why it should happen, then it's very easy for us to happen. Now, we've been doing these lives for a long time now, right? Bina and I, and sharing them. And I did some of them, with other people. And I've been doing lives for a long time now. Plus, a little while back, we in preparation for the interview with Jill, I said a show. I said, let's make it a show. And I started to think of this as a show rather than just a live. Well, a live is kind of a show, right? And then we practiced. We did a little bit. Cher came on and I interviewed her and I played little fanfare music, even though it didn't play at the time. The audio wasn't on, but doesn't matter. Right? Again, I'm laying a foundation for where I realistically was thinking of this as a show. And likewise, by extension, I think for me to actually have a show, not just on this live, but on some network, on wherever, is very realistic. It's very, very realistic. And this is now happening. It's starting to happen. It's coming, right? The people from the podcast, the sponsors, they absolutely love the show. So they want me to do a TV show that's my show, not being on someone else's show. Like now I'm on PBN, I'm on their network, and Jill has her own show too. I'm assuming that I'll probably be a guest on her show, and they want me to be a guest on Charles D. Smith's show, Undiscovered Gems. He only typically interviews people once, but now I'm going to be there twice, which doesn't ever happen. So, and it's by invitation only. But also I'll have my own show, and called whatever, something like, I guess, Soul's Moreness Show. That we finalize the name still, and the sponsors must like the name and all this stuff. I don't know how much I'll be working directly with the sponsors, but I have my own senior vice president. This is what he does. This is I'm now will be working with him, and we'll be fine tuning all the details of the show. And nonetheless, I'm making a point about perception and how perception varies relative to what we are emphasized, what we focused on, what we're holding in the forefront of our awareness. And, there's an article, chapter in the book about how you hold things in the forefront of our awareness. I don't know if we've read it or not, if it's still coming. I'm not sure. But either way, I'm making the point that what happens is very connected to our attention and our awareness, etc. Yes. This is a very, very big deal, and doesn't necessarily mean we can change the hard reality, although it can also mean that. Yes, and this is not me being woo-woo or crazy. When we understand, that reality is energy, the bottom line of everything, reality is energy. Yes, what we perceive, want to get into physics now, right? What we perceive is solidified energy, if you want to call it that, right? That's what our hard reality is. When we have something solid, this is energy that's simply been solidified, coagulated, if you want to call it, right? And when we look at that whole energy, the equation that describes reality equals mc squared, and you just put the things on the different side and you say m is equal to E divided by c squared. In other words, matter, mass, material, right, is energy that's divided by c squared. C squared is not infinity. A lot of people think so. It's not. It's just a very large number. It's a huge number because it's the speed of light times the speed of light. It's a very large number. It's not infinite, right? I mean, compared to infinity, it's very small, but still, it's a big number compared to what we typically have as numbers, right? So, but if you take energy, you're dividing it by a large number. In other words, you're considerably slowing down energy, right? And what happens when you take steam and you look at steam through a microscope? See all the molecules going crazy and zipping around, and they're very fast. It's called the Brownian movement, if you want to get technical on, right? But the molecules and the things, you can see it, and you can see it, right? Slow it down. Slow down those molecules by cooling it. What happens? Right? You get water. Slow them down even further, they get a little bit stuck and solid, and then you get ice. Okay? So when you slow down reality, it solidifies. When we slow down energy, it materializes. And how is this accomplished? Nowhere that I've ever read or seen in anything related to physics. Now, it may be out there, but I've never ever seen it. I've never seen discussions on it. That that divide, E divides C squared, which makes for M. What is that process? Is it cooling? Well, when it comes to water, yes, it's cooling. And other materials likewise, right? Um, Heat and cold, but some materials, they are liquid at a much different degree, and they are, so it's different for all, for different materials, right? The freezing point and the boiling point is very much different for different materials, not all the same. But how do we do this? How does all of this, in my perspective, from my point of view, and this is something that's also supported by much from ancient times, and more metaphysical perspectives. It's consciousness, awareness. That's the mechanism. That's what translates the energy of the universe, which we don't perceive directly. Yes, we can measure it and all, but we don't perceive it directly. There are there are traditions out there that talk about perceiving it directly. And if you go up into old Buddhist stuff and yogic stuff, all this, Vedic, Zen, all this, they all talk about enlightenment, which is to perceive energy directly, if you start to really pay attention to it. All right. Nonetheless, we don't perceive energy directly as a rule. We perceive it materialized energy. And that materialized, our reality, in other words, when we understand it's a function of our awareness and our consciousness. Now it's all sorts of falling into place. You say, yeah, but why can't I make that Ferrari appear? Why? Because it's a collaborative effort. All of sentience is the awareness, the sum total, the collectiveness of our awareness, our consciousness is what's making our reality appear, yes, and materialize. Therefore, if I want to have an individual thing, I have to essentially get a special dispensation, or things have to work out in my way or whatever. Right? But that to make one thing happen, you're going to have a lot of power to override this of everybody else. That's why attunement is so important, because things are changing. And when it happens and it turns out and you're in the right place at the right time, well, there you go. Now you get the things happening the way you want it, because you're in the right place at the right time. So this is a very, very deep topic. To get back to my original point. When we understand that we are, in fact, materializing magically, but we are doing so collaboratively, we are all these incredible magicians that are taking energy and converting it into matter, which is, magic. Yes, it is magical. Not in the way we typically think of magical, but in essence, right? When I make something appear as a magician traditionally, I'm getting something to appear out of thin air. What is that? But the translation of energy into matter, right? And when you really get into magic, where people are kind of serious about it, they will really tell you, like a lot of the stories, they say, look, it takes energy to make magic. Yes, it's not just something that you can go on forever, right? And the magicians get tired and all this. So it's a very important, very big topic. But I like to stick with it from the scientific point of view, from the physics point of view, where we have a different way that allows us to understand this. And it's pretty cool. It's really, really, really cool when we understand this and understand how it works, because it matters. It really matters. And then we start to also realize this whole point about relative perception, relative understanding, and the whole point of relativity, because that equal mc squared. This is the equation of relativity. Yes. And when we realize there's so many factors that are involved in how we perceive reality, not just my beliefs, not just my ideas. Of course, this is for everybody, but also how fast we move. Yeah, just speed changes. Gravity changes time. Gravity changes time. Yeah, when we start to get into the deeper points of this, we are so brought up to assume and believe that the world is hard and fast and solid and it's always the same. No, it's not. No, it's not. When you start to interview people and really ask them in real detail how they perceive the world, you're going to be very surprised how very different their perceptions are. What you take for granted as a fact is not necessarily so. One of our most basic and fundamental facts is the sky is blue. Nope. Not so for everybody. Some people perceive that what you call blue, uh, they also call it blue, but to them it's green because they have they in color blindness. They have green blue color blindness. It's actually fairly common. It's not all that uncommon either. They've just learned to call green blue, but they see a green sky, not a blue sky. Yeah, ways you can test it. Go look it up. Don't believe me. Go look it up. Right? Not that hard and difficult. Many tests that prove this. Right? So they just change the name, but what they actually see is a green sky. Isn't that incredible? Isn't that incredible? Can you imagine seeing a green sky? It'd be kind of cool. It'd be very cool to see a green sky instead of a blue sky. And of course, they see blue leaves on the trees. It's all inverted to them. That's fantastic. But they've just learned to call it differently. But they live in a profoundly different world. Can you imagine that? You look out your window at nature and the grass is blue and the leaves are blue. It's just fascinating to me. It's absolutely fascinating. You say, yeah, but how does this work? Because scientifically, the color is a wavelength of light and all this. Well, your eye says and your brain says, it doesn't matter what the science says. I perceive it this way. Okay, so perception is something that is over and above what science says. Quite fascinating. There may be scientific ways to explain all this. It doesn't matter. The end result is that things aren't as hard and fast as we'd like them to be. Plus, when you really go into science, yes, and one of the famous wave experiment where the perception changes, right? The fact that when you measure it without somebody perceiving and you measure it when somebody perceives, the what you're measuring is actually different, right? So reality is sometimes affected by a perceiver being present. Yeah? Very fact of you perceiving it changes. This is a scientific fact. Now, how does it translate into our day-to-day? Not very much, because, like I said, it's a collaborative process, and we just one in how many ever billions that are adding to this. Huh? And for all we know, the the awareness, the perception of all of nature is involved. I suspect it is. It's not only humans. We're just too arrogant because we think we're the top of the pops. I suspect all animals and all beings that have sentience, trees, everything, they all influence the reality. That to get it to be distorted to your own reality is a bit difficult. It takes inordinate power. But there are ways to deal with that too. Right? This is the magic of attunement. All right, now where's Bina? I see her online. Maybe it's just still stuck there. You know what I mean? Sometimes it shows you online even when you're not. Yeah, I was talking to her. Let me try calling her and see. Because before I start reading, I'd like Bina to be here. This point about perception, though, this is a very, very big topic. But just take it in your day to day. You know people that are in a bias. All right. Well, your girlfriend or your boyfriend, they're in a bad relationship. They've just broken up. Yes. And now you're walking down the street. And you say, "Wow, look at that! Wow, that's pretty cool. That's a very nice person." And they're all negative. To them, all people at that moment in time doesn't matter, or at least of the opposite sex, right? Or whatever. They're just negative because they've had a bad experience with their relationship. Now all people are bad. Yes. How often haven't we seen this? Yeah, we're all familiar with this, where people get into a bubble and their perception of reality gets distorted. Now, see, so perception is relative. Now, that's one we can observe and notice, but there are many others that we don't observe and notice. Very subtle prejudices, very subtle biases, very subtle distortions, very subtle belief bubbles, right? Which we don't notice necessarily, but they're there. So be aware, be aware, be aware, be aware that there is this perception affects reality in a very profound way. Now, how do we use this? Because to me, I'm always about practicality. This is what, Moreness paradigm is all about, practicality, getting value out of it. Does it matter how it works? No. What matters is the value that I get out of it. When I wake up in the morning and I wake up in a good mood, yes, I go out in the world and somebody asks me, what do you think about life in the universe and everything? It's, man, life in the universe is magical. It's marvelous. It's fantastic. Yes. Tomorrow, I wake up in a bad mood. And that same person comes along and asks me, what do you think about life in the universe? And it sucks. It's terrible. It's horrible. Everything is bad and negative. Why? My perception has been affected by my mood. Are you here, Bina? Nope, no answer. I don't know what happened to Bina. Okay, we have to trust. I just assume that, internet went down or something. It's okay. She'll be here. She'll be here when she can. If she can, she can. If she can't, she can't. All good. So my point is, we can use this. The reality hasn't changed from yesterday to today. Well, the life, is all the same. However, my mood has massively changed how I perceive the world. Now, once we realize that we can choose that mood, we can choose how we perceive the world. Now we're in a different ball game. Yes, now we're in a different ball game. We get grown up to taught that, just by implication, we get taught that how you feel is responsive or reactive to how things are. Yeah. Well, like how I'm feeling. Oh, it's a beautiful sunny day. I feel good. I'm feeling good because it's a beautiful sunny day. Well, I love rain. I feel good when it rains, when it snows. I like all the weather. I like the windy weather. I like, the typical nice day is kind of, I like them, but sort of the least favorite of mine. But boring sometimes. But we've been taught. My point is, I choose how I relate to the weather. The weather doesn't determine my mood. I do. And once we get to this shift in our reality to realize we get to choose not only how we feel, but our perceptions, our understandings, we choose. Now the practical result is different. I decide before I get up, before I've even seen the weather, I'm going to feel that. I decide. I choose. That's a massive, massive, massive important difference. And of course, that decision affects my perception. And there's a cumulative effect and can be exponential, right? So there's much happening in my life, which is what I'm saying. Lots of exciting things going on. Lots of moreness coming my way because there's a focus on it. There's an attention on it. Yes, and some will say, yes, it's well deserved. So this is what you are. All right. In one way, you can say that, but it's because of what I am focusing on doing. It's about appropriateness, etc. Perception. Perception and reality are very intimately connected. And when you add in feeling into all of this, you now get a profound mechanism. And when you add choice to that, it becomes even more profound. When you start to add choice, you've changed it all. You've now changed life to being deliberate. Need I say more? This is what Way-of-Impeccability is all about. A toolbox for deliberate living. I was sharing it on the show today on this, that it's a toolbox for deliberate living. That's how it's coming full circle now. And of course, my picture behind me, full circle. This is interesting. It doesn't show the entirety of on my background because the picture is square and the background needs a rectangular picture. But I want to show this picture. I'll screen share and show it in a moment because there's a little more to it than shown on the background. I'll have it now. It's so appropriate to what I'm talking about as a visual representation. Now, this is art that I've created for the book. Right? So it's not random. I mean, it's very deliberate, and it's specific to the articles, right? As we'll see in a moment. But I just want to share this. Well, you know what? Never mind. I don't have to find the picture to share. I can just screen share and start the chapter, and then you'll see it all. So, yeah, all good, all good. All right. Share screen, and I heard a notification there. Who's that from? Who's that from? Oh, okay. I'm live now. I'm live now, Michaela. So, contact, contact. Live now, not dive now. Okay, typing too fast. My fingers can't type as quickly and accurately as they could before. All right, so here we are. This is the chapter on that we are to read next, chapter 10. And now you can see this, what I was talking about, this image, right? How cool is that? How cool is that? I was talking about perception and reality. And, here's this, what looks like a little Saturn on this beach in the ocean. What an incredible picture. Yes. Now, this picture is about this chapter, which is about how do you personally deal with goals and motivations. I well, that's kind of what I was describing. We'll see what Biella has to say about it, because this is a question asked of Biella. But that's exactly what I was describing. I was saying, yeah. Yes, dive into your moreness. Actually, Michaela was sharing with me about her moreness, poems that she wrote, really deep, magical, brilliant poems a while back. But that's it. When we feel strongly and then you write it down, this makes for good writing, good art, good poetry, because it's about feelings, not about saying using fancy words or whatever. No, it's about feeling. About feeling. I've seen fantastically potent writing. Like in the writers group, I remember specifically somebody wrote about 3 or 4 lines. Clearly, English was not their first language, or even far away from their first language. Yeah. And the punctuation and the spelling was all terrible. Yeah. But the person was expressing a very real feeling and sentiment. You could feel it very strongly, how this was like they were really feeling this was a really big deal to them. It's awesome. It's huge. So it made for a fantastic, fantastic piece of writing. Yeah? Very powerful. So feeling is powerful. And Michaela was sharing powerful things. She was happy as at the time, feeling very strongly. Yeah. So very cool. Very cool, Michaela. Right here. All right, so let's read this chapter here. But look how this the whole picture. Okay, now this picture is to represent this entire chapter. This entire chapter. Oh, okay, okay. Norma said she just got home. Okay, so I'm about to start right now, Norma. I'm about to start right now. You know what? I will share that, Norma. I'll share the live. Can I do it here? No, but I can, if I get out of this, I can actually share the live to Messenger, which I did know about it, but I never used it until recently, because somebody was having trouble finding this. See, so I can share it to Messenger, and then I choose Norma there. And you know what? Since Michaela, I don't think she's noticing this, but she was on. I'll send it to Michaela. Well, since Venus not here, but it says Venus online, I'll send it to all of them. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So, all right. Norma says she'll be here in a few ticks. Wonderful, Norma. Wonderful one. And then while we wait for Norma, and maybe Michaela will come. I don't know what happened to Bina, but I just trust. I trust the universe. I trust the magic of Norma, and maybe Michaela will come. Sort of just do this, turn off the audio. I want to talk about this picture again, in how it is so representative. Now, goals and motivations. Yes, I, uh, I love the connection between to what I was sharing about perception and bubbleness and understanding language and context. We really need to be aware of context. Context is typically bubble. Yes, and when you wash the dishes and you got maybe a bit extra dishwashing liquid in there, and you drain the water, right? And as it goes out, and then you get that little gurgling sound, and which is air coming back up the pipe. What happens to the bubbles, right? Around the drain, you get bubbles, and you get bubbles on top of bubbles, and you get this whole little pile of bubbles on top of bubbles. Yes, context. Sometimes they're bigger and they're bubbles inside the big bubbles. There's one big bubble or one more or less big. And, right? That's context. When we understand context that way, it's very much like this picture, right? There's within this person, there's the big overall context. Yes, which we can say maybe that's life context. Then this is the outside picture, which in this case, is representing planets and stars. Like this is somewhere else. This is on a beach, not on Earth. And you got the little Saturn that's on the beach with its moon there. Right? It's like, wow. So we've got this huge, bigger universal or cosmos context, life context. Then we got the context of the person and their world and all their little bubbles, the relationships, work, fun, ideas, goals, whatever, right? All of these things, we have lots of stuff going on inside of us, right? And depends on which one you get inside, that changes your perception. Right? Contextual bubbles. Ah, brilliant. Hello, Norma. Hello, Norma. Yes, I love you too. Ah, glad you're here, Norma. Wonderful. Always happy that you're here. You bring so much joy and you add to the context. This is the point of moreness. When we understand the collaborative value of collaboration, in that, when I'm competing, it's my bubble versus yours. I stay in my bubble. Yeah, really? Come on. Yeah. And the idea of competition for most people is like, I want to pop your bubble and have my bubble take over your bubble and bring you into my bubble. Yeah. But now I lose your bubble and just end up in my bubble. You may join my bubble, but we're still in my bubble. Collaboration takes my bubble and adds it to yours. But there's something else that happens. Yeah. It doesn't just add, it multiplies. Yes. So when we start to collaborate, we get a bigger bubble that's bigger and more expansive and more inclusive and has more moreness in it than the two bubbles individually. Right? In other words, 1 + 1 equals more. It's more than two. How much more? That depends, but it's more. Yeah. This is the magic of collaboration. This is the magic of moreness. Right? There's always more to moreness. So Norma, when you come here, you adding your moreness to the moreness that's here, and we get the greater moreness. Yeah? It's amazing. It's amazing. And Norma says, yeah, but I don't do anything. I'm just here. You don't have to do anything. Just you being here adds. Just you being here makes it more. And very simple. Right. So this picture is about the article entirely, selective immersion. How do you personally deal with goals and motivations? And hopefully we're going to get Bina, so I'm dragging it out a little bit before I start reading. But I want to connect what I was saying earlier about perception affecting our reality and context and how that affects our goals and motivations. Yeah? If you understand bubbles and you understand context and you start wanting that Ferrari, in what context? See, understand the context, understand the bigger bubbleness. It's only so in the valid and appropriate in the context of your desires and wants. But if you think about it further, can you afford the insurance on that Ferrari if you were to get it? Let's say you won a competition. So it's possible. Sometimes people do get what they really, really, really want because they want it so strongly. It happens. Okay, maybe not Ferraris, but yes, it does happen even with Ferraris. You win a competition and you get given this Ferrari. And now you're like, oh, crikey, I wanted this Ferrari, but I didn't think about the insurance payments. Holy moly, I got to pay thousands a year to insure this Ferrari. Oh, crikey, bro, I don't live in the best of neighborhoods and everything. Nobody even wants to give me insurance for it. Right? And they will, but I would have to really pay high. I'm being serious now. You could pay thousands to insure your Ferrari if you don't live in the best of neighborhoods. I said, man, I don't even have a garage to put it in or a enclosure or canopy is standing outside, after a couple of weeks and, you've got it's winter and the salt trucks drive by and all, well, then your Ferrari doesn't look so good anymore. All right, anyway, problems. Other thing is I didn't have a car and I wanted a car and I chose a Ferrari. Yeah. I have to go to the supermarket and shop for the whole family. Not so convenient, the Ferrari. But also, okay, I can still put the things in there, but I have to take the kids to soccer and take their friends and all this. I only fit 2 or 3 of them there. I can't take the whole team or whatever. Okay, not so practical. I really need a minivan, not a Ferrari. Do they make Ferrari minivans? Okay, well, other problem, going to the supermarket. Man, my Ferrari's so beautiful. It's got this new finish. Hey, you with that shopping cart, stay away from my Ferrari. Oh gosh, I don't even want to go inside. I'm too scared. All right, I'll park at the very end of the lot there where there are no cars around me. It's kind of far to walk and come back with all the shopping. But hey, I don't want to get see what I'm saying? My point is, we sometimes wish for things, but we don't think it through to the end. I could go on about the problems of driving a Ferrari. Yes, and having and owning a Ferrari, as fun as it may be, it's a very particular thing. Say, oh my goodness, I'm sitting so low down. I've never sat this low down before. I feel very insecure in this, which is a very real fact about sports cars. You're very low down. A lot of people do feel very insecure. And, it's like, wow, like, okay, so let's say you're a woman. You know what? I have to start wearing different tops now because all cars are looking down at me. Now my regular top, when you're looking straight down on your cleavage is exposed. See, simple things. We don't think of these. But when you think it through and as reality is not what we imagine often. And our reality is not what we think that it's not the same for others. Somebody might say, oh, this is fantastic. Depending on your personality, you might like the idea that everybody can see your cleavage. I don't know. Reality is different for everybody. Don't assume. My point is, Ferrari, a bubble car. Well, in my example, yes, I'm just using Ferrari because it's a classic example, but it could be a Maserati, a Lamborghini, a Rolls Royce, whatever. Right? Rolls Royce is not a sports car like that, different kind of a car, but still a fancy, expensive car, right? Could be anything. So I'm just using it as an example, Norma. Yes, it's not a hope so. It is so. You add a lot. Is Michaela here? Where's Michaela? Oh, I don't know. I don't know if she's here or not. I just invited her. She's been on before, so hello, Michaela. I always like everybody. I like when any of my friends are here. It's very important, and so it adds. It adds. So I was just making this example of that. If you wish for a Ferrari and you get it, your wish is in a bubble. Let's assume that actually comes true. You may find yourself very much your bubble popped. And because to have a Ferrari implies many other things, and there's a lot that comes with having a Ferrari, like the insurance payments and, having the car not being stolen and not being damaged and all this. And so it's not an easy car to have relative to our ordinary life, right? I'm just saying, it's context. Context is my point. And be aware of context. Look at this. And this is what attunement is. Attunement is making an effort to live in the context. And look how wonderful this picture is. It's like a thought bubble, right? It's like the universe, which is this bigger picture, is thinking this person, which is you. I love this picture. This is why I chose it, because it's moreness on top of moreness on top of moreness. This is why I'm all about moreness. This is how I think. This is how everything I do has these layers and pockets and bubbles within bubbles and different conceptual. There's so much more. I mean, I could probably spend the whole 2 hours just talking about this painting. Came out really, really well. Very, very cool. Yeah. And for every painting that you see, by the way, there are hundreds, if not thousands of them that, well, I don't know if it's thousands, but there are definitely tens, dozens, sometimes hundreds. Depends. Of others that didn't make it. Yes. And that just, you have to try and keep going until you get what you want, right? And when it comes to this kind of digital art, right? It's not, it's a lot of work to do. If I had the skill to paint, man, this would, I don't know how long this would take somebody to paint, but sometimes it feels to me that it would be a lot easier if I, I knew how to paint. It might take me a couple of hours, a couple of days, whatever. But it just seems like it might be less hassle. All right, selective immersion. Now, when it comes to that bubble and perception, we want to understand selective immersion by implication that we are choosing our bubble. Okay, so let's hear. I don't know if Michaela's here, Norma. I'm not seeing any evidence of her, so I don't think she's here. And she's gone offline as well, so I doubt if she's here. She's not online. Norma shows online, Bina not online anymore. So something happened. All right, no worries. All good, all good. And for Bina, for the next couple of days, Bina might be a bit scarce because it's the end of Ramadan. I know it's spelled with a D, but Bina pronounces it with a Z. Now, maybe elsewhere in the world, in other countries, they pronounce it differently. But Bina says Ramazan. I say Ramazan too. And Eid is coming up, which is the end of Ramadan. It's the final big celebration and more things that they got to do and involved in. So we may see less of Bina, right? Just to be aware. And I appreciate this. I mean, Lena is a very devout Muslim. It's beautiful. And I want to make the point that this is the magic of mourners. It's not about your ideology and your beliefs. Unless you really want to be stuck and be very closed. Yes, then it can be. But when you are open, it doesn't matter. Your belief is your own personal choice. It enhances belief. Bina will tell you that she is much, much more of a Muslim than she was before, even though she was a devout Muslim before she got involved with Way-of-Impeccability and Moreness-Project. Right? It adds, it adds, it adds. Norma, you have a Christian perspective. You love Jesus. The more we talk about it, the more understand. What we're talking about is enhancing our ability to appreciate. If you enhance your awareness, you enhance your attention. If you enhance your discernment, you enhance your understanding. Doesn't that enhance also, because through application, it enhances your ability to appreciate. Whatever you were doing becomes more. Why it's Moreness? Why it's Moreness-Project? Why it's all about Moreness? And likely the TV show that I'm going to be doing is going to be called Soul's Moreness Show. Or the Moreness Show with Soul Sebastian, something like that. Right? We haven't decided on the name yet, but it's coming. All right, selective emotion. How do you personally deal with goals and motivations? This is the question asked of Biella. Biella says, Dear Q, becoming immersed in whatever is the current theme in my life is a marvelous way of living for me. The current theme of my life. I love this. Moreness from Biella. It removes the doubts and anxieties which accompany those constant choices we have to make if we get caught up in the goal mindset, the mindset of what we should be doing. For me, it's simply what grabs my interest, what I like to do, what I want to do, what I feel like doing, what's right at the time, moment to moment. This is awesome. As I'm doing what I enjoy, and also I have learned great difficulty that it is also right for me, right in the greatest scope of my life. This was originally emphasized, but when I copy it, sometimes it doesn't copy across the formatting. So I have to add it back in. Right for me, right in the greater scope of my life. And this is very crucial, this emphasis here. Yeah? That Biella is talking about a person. You can't say this applies for everybody. No. Why? Why is this not me just being indulgent? Oh, in other words, doing exactly what I want to do, right? What I enjoy. Impeccability of spirit. That's why. Learning that doing exactly what I want is also right was inordinately difficult. Yeah, it was. I had to learn to go against almost everything that I know. Yeah, that's everything I knew. Wow, yeah, big deal, big deal, big deal. Why? Because we are taught to be indulgent. We are taught to be selfish in the small bubble context of selfish. Again, our picture behind us. Selfishness might just be there with that finger. Me only. But there's more to life than just me, right? There's the people around me. There's everybody. So when we are selfish in the traditional sense of the word, we actually exclude everybody and we lose more than we gain. Like if I'm eating the sweets in front of everybody and not sharing, well, you all think I'm a jerk. I gained eating the sweets, yes, but that's a very childish, very narrow view of gain. Yeah. But when I share it and I'm kind and I'm generous, now I have moreness in my life. I have friends, people who like being with me, enjoy being with me. I'm not buying them, I'm genuinely being kind and generous because I like seeing them happy. See, if I was buying you, you'd say, well, you're just buying me with the sweets or whatever. And then, well, buying me. That's not real. You're not being genuine. So then again, they don't want to be with me. So genuineness, very important. Yeah. It adds to your life, you gain from it. So the very opposite, when we understand selfishness to be a virtue, not a negative, but that's overall selfishness. When we are selfish, taking the grand context into mind. Now I'm doing things that benefit everybody. Why? Because that benefits me. This is selfishness as a virtue. It's a bit complicated, and selfish has so much baggage that we typically only use it to mean bubble. Yes. So this is now, Biella is going to be talking about this, but without using the word selfish. Very, very cool stuff. Impeccability of spirit. Learning that doing exactly what I want is also right was inordinately difficult. I had to learn to go against everything that I knew, against the entire world's logic, it seemed. But the key to this reversal of perspective is learning to trust my intent to goodness. The key to this reversal of perspective is learning, capital L, learning to trust, capital T, trust my intent to goodness. Yes, when we learn to trust our intent to goodness, this is essential. Accepting and trusting completely the impeccability of my intent and intents was not easy, but it was real and true nonetheless. Why was it not easy? Because of modesty. Modesty and humility were the counterbalancing checks to the success. They are extremely powerful forces for me. Not wanting to be egotistical or inaccurate in my own assessment of myself is a very strong motivation. Somehow it seems we are quite willing to believe negative perspectives on ourselves which are inaccurate, but are reluctant to accept positive truths which are accurate. Wow, wow, wow. Wow, 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 wow. Biella, I just love you, Biella. You know, just love you. Just love you. See, Biella is all of us. Biella is Norma. Biella is Bina. Biella is me. Biella is Sher. Um, so I just want to add this to my quote file. Quote file. And so well, maybe Sher's going to join us. That would be cool. That would be cool. You know, these so much that Biella says is very powerful to me. But I don't always add them to my quote file. I mean, I could just include almost all the articles, but I like to pull when they jump at me as a quote. Somehow it seems we are quite willing to believe negative perspectives on ourselves, which are inaccurate, but are reluctant to accept positive truths which are inaccurate. Now, this particular point, I have been making an effort to shift. I suffered from this inadvertently all my life, knowingly so, deliberately so. I said, I'd rather err on the side of negative caution than positive overestimation. I'd rather undervalue myself than overvalue. If I'm going to be inaccurate, rather on that side, right? But as a result, I didn't pay enough attention to appropriate positive valuation. I've shifted. It's been a while now, not too long, but a while where I shifted this since I started doing Way-of-Impeccability and all of the things. It was appropriate for me to shift, and I did. Said I've practiced enough that I know I'm not going to be egotistical. It's entrenched in me, humility. But also, it is appropriate to celebrate my mourners. And I'm doing this, and now the celebration and sharing and practicing my mourners is bearing fruit. In the sense that I'm able to share more wider to more people via the podcast shows, which started off with just 10. Now it's probably going to be for a year long. And I'm going to have my own show. Yes. So it's expanding, right? It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Yeah. So it's very cool. Very, very cool. So it's part of this, right? We need to get comfortable believing positive and accepting positive truths, not believing, accepting positive truths about ourselves that are accurate. Norma, yes. Norma tends to believe negative things about her. I'm going to just say this publicly, Norma, because you have so much moreness, but you're reluctant to believe it. Yeah, don't be reluctant to believe it. It's part of truth. Norma. That's all. Yeah, much moreness to you, much moreness. Right, so to follow on from this, somehow it seems we are quite willing to believe negative perspectives on ourselves, which are inaccurate. Yeah, but are reluctant to accept positive truths which are accurate. Never mind accepting positive truths which are inaccurate. Yes, narcissists do that. But if we're willing to accept negative truths which are inaccurate, why aren't we willing to accept positive truths that are accurate? So that's why I saved it as a quote. It's a huge point here. Huge, a lot of layers to it. A rigorous and thorough examination of my motivations repeatedly led me to come to the only conclusion possible, that I could not possibly ever intend anything bad. I suppose I could pull that as a quote, but it's not quite the same because it's personal. That statement there, why a quote is something that is generally applicable, right? Generally valuable, right? To everyone. That's what makes it a quote, because we all connect to it. What this, yeah, yes, it can be a quote, but and it does apply to many things, but it's also very personal, right? So that's why it's not. I mean, it's still good, but I could not possibly ever intend anything bad. Now that doesn't apply to all people. Some people say, "Well, I can intend something bad," but for Biella, she's realized that she could not. Not truly. A lot of people think they can intend bad, but the idea of doing it and actually doing it, two different things. Many people, for instance, they are unable to inflict pain on another, even when they need to. Yes? Like they can't give somebody an injection when they need it, even to save their lives, because it's going to cause them pain. Yes, I know it's an extreme example, but it's very real. That intent to goodness is so strong. This seems obvious that we can't possibly intend anything bad, but yet it is in the detailed application of detailed living that we come to doubt this. Ah, man, every sentence is so much to it. This seems obvious, but yet it is in the detailed application of daily living we come to doubt this. Our desires, wants, and likes, our trivial motivations are all connected to our intents. End game perspective. Once we shift to a long-term view and an end game perspective, once we have set our intent for the overall good and best, then we have to learn to trust that that overall intent will manifest in the details of our likes and wants of our daily living. And that's what's happening for me right now. In this moreness, it's an intent to share the moreness. I don't have an intent to be a celebrity or famous or anything like that. No. Yeah. Having a bit more money, fine. That would be okay. I don't have to necessarily be fabulously wealthy and all that. No. I have no intent to be. Many people assume when I say I'm doing the podcast and they congratulate me on being a celebrity or on the road to being a celebrity. I don't think I'm one yet, but on the road. They think that they congratulate me on this because they assume that it's a motivation. It's not. It's not. I don't particularly care for the idea of celebrity at all. But I do care about being able to share. If that means I have to be a celebrity to share, okay, fine. It's a cross I'll bear then. Yeah. But that's how I feel about it. No, Grammarly, the two that's are very important. Yeah. Once we shift to a long-term perspective, an end-game perspective, once we have set our intent for the overall good and best, then we have to learn to trust that that overall intent will manifest in the details of our likes and wants of daily living. And I want to change that to materialize. Manifest is such an abused term, and I was talking about this earlier, that it means different things to people. To manifest for most people really means shortcut. There's no shortcut to how this is. Yes, for Biella, things manifest, materialize. It's happening in my life now. But it didn't come as a shortcut. I'm not just saying, oh, I want something and I get it as an indulgent thing like a Ferrari. No, it's appropriate. It's connected to everything I do. There's a moreness to it that makes sense. That's justified. That's right with a capital R, right. Right according to my integrity and impeccability. Again, it's what my motivations are. My motivations are sharing this moreness paradigm. Yes, very, very big deal. Since I use English spelling, Biella does too. It's materialize with an S, not a Z. Uh, will materialize the details of our likes and wants of daily living. We need guidance when it comes to the minutia of daily living. Every sentence has that depth to it. Has that depth. You've really got to read Biella one sentence at a time. We need guidance when it comes to the minutia of daily living. We would think it's the reverse. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. So, this is where the marvelous power of appropriateness as a philosophy for living comes in. Yeah, it's really cool. We think we can take care of the minutia of daily life, but really, how appropriate are our actions in the immediate? We do lots of things that are inappropriate, and then, well, we didn't know it at the time. We're like, what was I doing? Yeah. But also, are our daily actions, are they connected to be appropriate in the longer term? When you look back and say, oh my goodness, yes, I thought I was being appropriate, but really I was wasting my time. My precious, precious time. I could have been doing this, I could have been doing that instead. This is a very common feeling from people who do Way-of-Impeccability. They feel like, man, I've wasted my life up until now. I wish I'd known this sooner, which is why I'm going to be sharing it on the podcasts, because Jill brought her children into it. They can get access to this now. You have to wait. Uh, then we have to learn to trust that the overall way. Right? This is where the marvelous power of appropriateness as a philosophy for living comes in. If we are always being appropriate, if we have set our intent to be so for the overall, the long term, the end game, then there are times when what is required is simply waiting, being patient while things unfold as they will in order for our intents to come to pass. Yes, so sometimes it's just waiting, being patient while things unfold as they will in order for our intents to come to pass. In this macro perspective, things move at a slower pace, and often we find ourselves needing to be patient. Yeah, let's going somewhere with this. We don't quite see where yet, but we're getting there. That's part of this end game perspective. This is where immersion comes into it. See, I love this with Biella. She always does this, right? We started with selective immersion. And now this is where it comes in. This is where immersion comes into it. Immersion into whatever has come along allows us to have fun while being patient. Huh, huh, wow. This immersion into the appropriateness of the immediate prevents us from becoming distracted from our long-term intent, from changing course because we don't see results. We are so habituated to the short-term perspective, we often can't adopt a long-term mindset. But we have to. We have to learn to trust, to be inordinately patient, capital P patient, to have forbearance, and to be disciplined in maintaining our connection and commitment to our long-term intent. Then the timing of it all would automatically fall into place. This is a very nice, deep paragraph here. It's bringing a big point. Yes, patience, discipline, forbearance. Yes, even tolerance if need be. Thoroughness, impeccability. Put all those together. They create time. Yes, they create timing. We'll say, oh, you've got good timing. That's because they've been patient, they've been thorough, they've been disciplined, they have forbeared, and things happen, right? You're enabling yourself to be in the right place at the right time, which is what timing is, which is what's happening to me now in all of the moreness coming from the podcast and the shows, and now I'm going to have my own show and all this. That's what's happening to me now. Time, all falling into place, right? When we become immersed and run with our interests as long as they last, it helps to keep us from not straying from our long-term intent. They are feathers, and they always lead to new learning and growth as well. Yeah. So when you get something that comes your way, like this now with the podcasts, I immerse myself into it, yes, and I give it my all. Same with when I'm doing the books. I give it my all. I immerse into it. And then moreness comes because of that. Because that immersion is attention, it's emphasis. Yes. In the picture behind. Very powerful. The key is to accept what we feel like doing is also right and good. Wow. The key is to accept what we feel like doing. I had to put capital F, feel there. What we feel like doing, yes, is also right and good. And this is a real feel, not just your surface, but feel all the way down to your soles of your feet. To me, it's not accidental that soul and soul is the same word all the way down, right? Your base, your soul is your core, your root, your foundation. Stand on sole of your feet. See? You pay attention to language, so much wisdom. You can read the dictionary and become wise. You pay attention to what you read. You read conceptions of your dictionary of powers. Brings you moreness. Huh? Stuff like this, right? Very simple. This is the difficult part, right? The key is to accept what we feel like doing is also right and good. This is the difficult part. We have been taught following our personal wants and desires only is wrong. Wow. We have been taught following our personal wants and desires only is wrong. Not only wrong, but counterproductive. And there could be. It all depends on the integrity of our intent. If we are impeccable with our intent, our overall intent, the intent of always wanting only good and the best possible, whatever that may be, for me, the key has been accepting that this intent to goodness translates into the immediate, into the detailed wants and likes of the moment. Wow, Biella. Wow, Biella. Wow, Biella. Wow, 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 wow. Wow, wow, wow. Moreness from Biella. Moreness from Biella. Yes. For me, the key has been accepting this intent to goodness translates into the immediate, into the detailed wants and likes of the moment. And that moment, as she's discussed before, the moment, the moment it repeats, and therefore it stretches out over time. That's what we perceive in the moment. So a moment can extend. It's not only a small fraction. A moment can be very long. Once I learned to trust that this is indeed so, once I learned to trust this is indeed so, my world changed. My world changed. I had to give up knowing where I was going, or in actuality, the illusion of knowing. We like to believe we have an idea of some sort because it is comforting. It makes us feel safe. We like to believe we have an idea of some sort of how the world works. Of how the world works because it is comforting. It makes us feel safe. But no matter how much we may have our course set, life always seems to find a way to change. Life always seems to find a way to change or disrupt our path. There are just too many variables. We have to be able to adapt, to change course, to flow. This is integral to freedom. This is integral to freedom, the ability to adapt and flow and be fluid. If that is our goal, to be free, truly free, we have to be free also from set paths. We have to be free to be able to adapt and shift as appropriate, as necessary. Yeah. And yeah, this is a big deal. Yeah. This is again where immersion comes back into it all. Being able to fully immerse according to the dictates of all the influences and forces of our lives is immensely valuable. All of them, not just some. all of the forces of our lives is immensely valuable, as it enables us to maximize those forces and motivations. We end up doing what is good for us, what is fun for us, and what provides us with the learning and growth all at the same time. Yeah, that's so magical, right? When we end up doing what is good for us, what is fun for us, and what provides us with learning and growth at the same time, that's where we end up. In other words, if we take this policy of Biella's of immersing according to all the dictates, in other words, attunement, yes, we come to realize this is, of course, what we have been intending all along, a perfect situation for us. Yeah. When we really think our intents through all the way to the intent in the end and say, well, what I intend is goodness, maximum goodness. Well, isn't maximum goodness going to include fun? Of course it is. Right? Let me refresh here real quick just to make sure that there aren't more comments that I haven't missed because it's not automatically updating. We get a somewhat younger picture here. These pictures may or may not be Biella. They may be the questioner. All depends. All depends, right? They're not necessarily Biella. They can be. It's all slow. It's all slow. Come on. I don't know who this is, but see, yeah, it's just too slow over here. I can't click on this to see the comments. There we go. It's all slow. It's all slow. Yeah, shift it to the side and wait for it to reload. Yeah, see, there were more comments here. Very true, says Norma. Enhances my life as do you. Thank you, Norma. You enhance my life. You enhance my life. Oh, Michaela is here. She says, good morning, so. Okay, so Norma saw that. I didn't. Wonderful, Michaela. I love it that you here. Norma was saying hello to you, and I didn't see you here. So wonderful, wonderful. I'll just keep clicking this, and maybe that will refresh. So brilliant, brilliant. I hope you're listening, Michaela. I hope you're listening while you're doing your things there. So Michaela's got a very busy life, well, as we all do. When you're a single parent, it's more so. Yeah. What is difficult is accepting that it is possible. See, Michaela, you're a writer. Take out this, that. Doesn't need to be there. That's how we talk, but it's not necessarily how we need to write. What is difficult is accepting it is possible. See, it doesn't change the sentence. That, and then I have another that which does need to be there. What is difficult is accepting it is possible. That we can indeed have things really good for us. Does that either? What is difficult is accepting it is possible. We can indeed have things really good for us. See, the two, that's totally redundant there, Michaela. You saw that, right? If they any writing tip, and if I edit for people, I'll charge them by the that. I'll say, sure, I'll edit for you. But I'll charge you $20 for every that which I remove. For every that which is redundant. You'll be amazed. Be amazed. I mean, right there, $40 already in my pocket. And I removed, I think, 2 or 3 more. Just in this article, I'd already have $100 just for editing this article. I mean, yeah, a professional editor probably going to charge you the same, yeah, at least, if not more. But it's amazing. Anyway, just by the by. What is difficult is accepting it is possible. We can indeed have things really good for us. Not always in the way we imagine, because those past imaginings usually are too corrupted by conventional and mass influence. We have to come to see our own personal detailed good is indeed achievable. I need that cash register sound for another 20 coming into my pocket there. I probably could if I had some time here. See, now when I have my own show, I'm going to have a producer. And the producer needs to have those sound effects on hand there. And every time I do that, they need to have that cha-ching sound from the old cash register. Right? I had a cash register with the old lever buttons, like those very early typewriters, right? You press the button on the cash register, manual cash register, in other words. And it made that cha-ching sound where it comes from. I had it when I had the restaurant. It was very cool. We have to come to see our own personal detailed good is indeed achievable. We don't really want most of what we supposedly should. don't really want, capital W want. We don't really want what we supposedly should want. For instance, like people think they should want celebrity. Do they really want it? Do you want paparazzi? Do you want to be not to be able to go to a restaurant without somebody saying, "Hey, can I have your autograph? Will you take a selfie?" And do you really want this? Me, no. I like living in my own bubble and doing my own things. I'm not a super private person. I enjoy people, but I also necessarily like doing things on my timetable. Yeah. So when I'm busy out there, my time is very precious to me. Like if I'm going to the supermarket, I've set aside that time, and if I stop and chat and take selfies, that time going to the supermarket now is going to take 10 times longer, right? Which means that my other stuff is getting shifted back. I have a lot to do in my life. My life is very full. If you're into admiration and approval, well, fine, then you can spend all day doing that. Yeah. All depends what you really, really want. We don't really pay attention. But so thank you, Spice Girls. It's a very important thing. See, we get wisdom from the most unusual places sometimes, right? Pay attention to what you want, what you really, really, really want. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go look that song up from the Spice Girls. Very cool. Yeah. How you doing on Smile Life? Our individual needs and wants are easily met and satisfied. We simply need to shed ourselves of the idea we have to want and like what the world says we must. To think, we have to shed. Yes, we simply need to shed ourselves of the idea we have to want and like what the world says we must. Yeah, and this must be in inverted commas. It's not a must. Not a must. A scrupulously honest examination of ourselves will reveal our personal wants, capital W wants. Not wanting what society says you should want, what you're supposed to want, what you must want. That's why I always put supposed to and must have and all of this, right? Must be. And all in inverted commas. We've been told this, conditioned this, but it's nonsense. It's absolute rubbish. No. Appropriate. I mean, it may be appropriate for some people. It's not appropriate for all. I'm not saying that there are people who really, that celebrities like the best thing ever for them. Okay, fine. You know, like, say, Kim Kardashian. I think this is a marvelous thing, her celebrity. It's founded on absolutely nothing, but there's some honest to it and gives her focus and value and purpose. It's huge. So it depends on who you are. Now, I mean, I'm just assuming that she really enjoys it because she really sought it. So I've got to assume so. And she stays with it. So, okay. But again, you don't have to stay with it your whole life. She may have enjoyed it and then say, okay, I've had enough. That happens. That happens. Appropriate responsiveness. Responding appropriately thus means not only to outward forces, but also to the internal pressures, to our internal motivations. Wants and likes. If we are impeccable internally, we also then have to trust. We would not want to think again. Amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I never get over this, how it's there. Right? We also then have to trust. We would not want or like anything that is not good. Now, that is important. So how can we not immerse ourselves in following our inner forces? Yes, question mark. They are the manifestation of the immediate of our greater and most overall intent. We don't have the imagination or capacity to lay out a detailed description of how exactly the world will unfold in order to satisfy our overall intent. And therefore, we have to accept there will be variation. So there will be variation, surprise, mystery. Accept and enjoy. For we probably would not want to know exactly how it all works out in advance. Yeah, I just love you, Biella. I just love you. I just love you. Now, Michaela, are you still here? Norma, are you still here? I don't know. I'm not seeing anything there, so let me try and refresh and see. Okay, I'll just refresh again because I don't trust this always. Some days it shows it live and in real time. Somebody comments and it comes up like 30 seconds later, right? Because there's a delay, 30 seconds. But other days it doesn't show at all. Like Michaela's comments, I didn't see it until I refreshed here. So I'm going to check to see if Norma's said. Oh, Michaela. It's a little slow. But this is the point, right? We want such certainty in our lives. And a lot of people think they'd like to know the future. They even go to fortune tellers. But there's a fantastic book series, Dune. Now, Dune is about the evolution of consciousness. That's the theme of the whole series. Many who love Dune completely miss this about the series. Fascinating to me. I see lots of them, there's movies and reviews. They miss this, that the stories about the evolution of consciousness, of awareness. So as it happens that it comes that there's the main character becomes pretty much almost a literal god. Right? And the chapter is called God Emperor of Dune, and then it goes even further and so on. But as the story goes on, this emperor, the emperor has prescience and can see what's coming in the future, right? Can see the different parts. It's all a long story. But also, this god, the god emperor now, it's extremely bold. If you know what's coming, just think how bored you're going to be. There's none of that freshness, none of that excitement when things come and they're new and exciting. Yeah, I knew it was coming. Yeah. So the so the emperor starts to encourage. There's some people which he cannot see. They're blind to his prescience. And one of them is like a revolutionary and a troublemaker. And his advisors say, why don't you just kill her? She's always causing trouble. He says, yes, but she keeps it exciting for me. I don't know what she's going to do. Yes, it's dangerous, but that's exciting. Very powerful point in the story that's completely overlooked. Dune is a very, very powerful series. I absolutely recommend reading it, but read it from this perspective of a story, a series about the evolution of consciousness and the potential ways that it can go or not go. There's much to learn from, right? It's not obvious. It doesn't, like he said, Frank Herbert said, his son quoted this. He said, my father, his son also wrote, Brian, he said, my father always said, never preach. Yes, let whatever you want to say come organically, automatically, but never preach. Nobody wants to be preached to. And me, I feel the same way. So I don't teach. The teaching and preaching not only sound similar, but they can very easily become the same thing. You have to be very careful. And I was sharing with Sher yesterday that the Sher does coaching too. And so it's an ongoing thing. How do we sometimes we know something that's very valuable for the client or the participant? How do we prevent ourselves from preaching? And I said, simply take your advice and turn it into a question. Problem solved. Very powerful. Hi, says Norma. You share. Thank you, Norma. That's capital S share, I hope. Not just little S share. Thank you. Thank you, Norma. Yes, I do make an effort to share. I do. I do make an effort to share because sharing is communal. It includes in the interview today. I don't know if anybody watched the live. Bina said the link wasn't working for her, even though it was working. So who knows? But maybe it's just her internet or whatever, right? And maybe there's political trouble in Pakistan, and sometimes when there's political like demonstrations or whatever, they shut the internet down so that it doesn't get out of hand and go viral and all this. Right? I mean, I guess from a law enforcement point of view, it's very sensible, but from a freedom point of view, we're like, depends where you at on the spectrum. Right? Not everybody sees things the same way. Yeah. Thank you, Norma. Thank you. All right, so we have to accept and enjoy, or we probably would not want to know exactly how it all works out in advance. Very powerful point from Biella. There are too many variables anyway, and freedom is also flexibility. Freedom is also flexibility. We have to be able to adapt and respond as appropriate. To me, the universe is always stretching our capability in this regard. She always adds this smallness. To me, the universe is always stretching our capabilities, God. Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Like now, I've got new things, new podcasts, new shows. One I was, the guest. Now I'm going to be doing it. I have to stretch my capability. I have to stretch my capability to be appropriate. No, 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 Norma, please, 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 please take that whole thing back there. Why must it be irritating, Norma? This is exactly what I was talking about. Expectations according to convention. Why must it be irritating? No, 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 no. Bina is going to take it completely different. Bina will say, man, this is an opportunity for me to stretch my capabilities, for me to stretch my capability to be patient, for me to stretch my capability to forbear, for me to stretch my capability to shift and do what's different in the moment. Who knows what's going on over there? See, Norma, that must, we use it so without thinking. I know you didn't absolutely mean it literally, but we say it and it becomes part of our brain. And so we end up being irritated because we think we must be. No, Bina will not be irritated. I promise you this. Yes? No, no. And you say it there. You say, I can't imagine Bina being irritated. Yeah, because she won't. Because she won't. So it's a big shift. Norma, this, when we start to listen to our language and pay attention to it, what I was saying earlier, concept and understand, it changes everything. We realize how much we say that we don't actually mean really. We're just saying it out of habit, which is why way of impeccability is so profoundly, profoundly focused on dealing with habit for exactly this reason. And you see how magical you are, Norma? See how magical you are. See how you just added to this entire sharing. Right? If this was a show, if I was doing my show, I'd say, thank you. You just made the show better. You just made the show special through demonstrating. Yeah. Lost you then, or mislaid you. Very funny, Norma. Very funny. And yeah, such magical humor too. I just love you, Norma. But again, see, in this inadvertent comment, you really just demonstrated. You blew up the show, as they would say in the business, right? You blew up the show. Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. Right? The universe is always stretching our ability to be appropriate, our ability to stretch. Yeah, like when the inadvertent happens. Look today, Venus not here. Well, do it on our own. Doesn't matter. And maybe Cher comes. Maybe Cher's going to read. Maybe Michaela wants to come on and read. Well, we all grow up now left. But you never know. Okay, it's me, my turn to read. I like to hear them read. I like to hear others. We have to learn to do without complaint. We have to learn to do without complaint. Right there in your comment, Bina and Norma, you see the next comment from Biella. We have to learn to do without complaint. Right? The internet turned off. We have to do differently. We have to do it without complaint. Yes, we have to learn to be able to like anything and everything, to find good in it all, but to be able to be truly appropriate in the most overall sense. We have to be able to do and be whatever. Ha. Biella drops these incredible, profound bombs. Yeah, like this. This is revolutionary. This is revolutionary what she's saying. Yes, but it's hard to always appreciate the revolutionariness because it doesn't come with trumpets and fanfares and everything. Yes. I mean, if Biala was saying this on my show as a guest, I'm going to stop and say, "Whoa, you just blew up the internet. You just blew up the world," as they like to say. Yes, it's huge. We have to learn to do without complaint, to be able to like anything and everything, to find good in it all, or to be able to be truly appropriate in the most overall sense. We have to be able to do and be whatever. Yes. For instance, now with the internet being down, Bina has to be whatever is required, which means that she has to be able to be somebody happily and joyful who does not currently have internet. I grew up without internet. No, you grew up without internet. You know how to be happy without internet, right, Norman? You know how to do so now. See, we forget. We take things for granted. So when she says, this ability to like anything and everything, obviously we don't want to learn to like pain necessarily, but if appropriate, we might need to. If appropriate, we might need to. Yeah, very powerful skill. 11:30 your time. Yes, thank you, Norma. Internal good. Oh, we're not finished with that chapter, right? So we have to be able to do and be whatever. Yes, I think this is a B with a capital. Be and do is also capitalized because this is, moreness stuff that we're doing. Right? Once we get to that point of flexibility, then we can trust our internal forces. They are also the guides to appropriateness in the now. And through this long-term appropriateness, and through this long-term appropriateness, we acquire. Once we get to that point of flexibility, then we can trust our internal forces. They are the guides to the appropriateness in the now. And through this, to long-term appropriateness. I think I want to add that. The long-term appropriateness. And through this, they are the guides to appropriateness in the now. And through this, long-term appropriateness. Yeah, that's a very big point here. Very big point here. Trust us, we trust us. It's hard to see longer term appropriateness, but we have to make a start somewhere. Yes, Biella, yes. Internal goodness. The trees of our immediate lives prevent us from seeing the forest of the end game. Wow. Wow. That's very poetic. Wow. That's so cool. Cleaning our internal house of doubts and debates allows us to have a compass of appropriateness. Wow. Wow. Which is our wants and likes. Huh. Wow. This is an incredible chapter. This is an incredible chapter. And capital L likes, which are individual, personal likes, not the likes of society. Not the likes of society. If we have been scrupulous and impeccable in setting our intent, then we have to trust our intent will materialize in making us want and like in the most appropriate way in the immediate. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Let me read that sentence again. If we have been scrupulous and impeccable in setting our intent, then we have to trust our intent will materialize in making us want and like in the most appropriate way in the immediate, no matter how it may seem. Wow. We have to accept much may seem odd or even inappropriate in the short term, but we have to maintain that trust in ourselves and in our intent to goodness. We have to trust in ourselves and in our intent to goodness. Who's messaging me? Who's messaging me? It's Marvelous Norma. Yeah. Let's see what Norma has to say. So I'm going to stop screen share real quickly in case it's something very private. I don't want it to be public. See, Norma? See, I'm learning too. Okay. All good, Norma. All good. All good. All good. Oh, that's an old message that just came through now. Eat, Norma. Eat, 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 eat. You need to eat and pay attention to yourself. Norma, you are part of this precious universe. And because you love the universe, that means you also love yourself. And because you feel that loving the universe is necessary and important, that means it is necessary and important to also love and take care of yourself. You're a part of the universe. You cannot neglect yourself. To neglect yourself is to neglect the universe. Yes? Now, you aren't all of the universe, which means that you need to pay attention to this part of the universe and the other parts also as appropriate, right? So when we say you have to love and take care of yourself, doesn't mean exclusively, because you're a part of the universe, not the entirety. Okay? Very important. Take care of yourself, please, Norma. Wow, 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 wow. We have to accept much may seem odd or even inappropriate in the short term, but we have to maintain that trust in ourselves and tend to goodness. We have to come to realize we could never want what is bad. We could never capital W want what is bad. That what we want is goodness in all ways, in the long term and the short term. We have to come to realize we would never want and like what is bad. Right? Realize what we want is goodness in all ways, in the long term and the short term. We have to come to accept we can have it all the time. We have to come to accept we can have it all the time. Yeah, we can. This is when we understand how fun is also learning and growth. This is when we understand, capital U, understand how fun is also learning and growth. Profound statement. What a profound statement. How fun stretches us, expands us, helps us to learn to be more flexible and cool. Our play, our capital P play leads to the enhancement of awareness. And as long as that is always part of the equation, then all is good and we can relax and enjoy. Now, we can then break free from the notions of living convention has forced on us. We can engage in our own custom-tailored personal lives where all is good and in balance according to our intent. This is a supreme act of trust. A supreme act of trust. But trust is also an integral part of adventure. A supreme act of trust. Trust is also an integral part of adventure, and that is what life is, an adventure. At least it seems to me that is the most optimal. This is. This is the most optimal way of regarding life as an adventure. Yes? Why not? Why not? Why not? Why not? Why not? We can have an adventure going to the supermarket. I do. I had adventure going to all the things I do. They're all adventures. I'll tell you about them. I do sometimes. Yeah. Life is an adventure. I mean, whether it actually is or not, I say at least whether we think of our life as an adventure or not, it actually is, regardless of how we feel about it. So we might as well get in tune with it, get in touch with it. Yeah. It is when we embrace adventure and see it as fun, that's when things start to fall into place and we become capable of enjoying. Yeah, when you're in an adventure, you enjoy everything. Yeah, that's why it's an adventure. The hard times, the challenges, the stress, it's all part of the adventure. Right? It's a different mindset. It's a different mindset. Take undercover policemen, detectives, agents. They do the most extreme things, which, like, for instance, going undercover into a prison in order to uncover the whole gang and all the terrible stuff, whatever, right? All the negative, the bad, the criminal. Right? For the undercover agent, it's an adventure. That's why they do it. They love doing it. But who wants to go to prison? Now, that undercover agent wants to go to prison. Yeah? it's not hardship for them. I mean, yes, in one way it is, but in another way not. Same thing with actors, right? I mean, actors, they can play depressed people, sad people, unhappy people, miserable people, and they love doing it. We have this peculiarity in our brain that we can do something in a bubble, and then, like the picture behind me, we can have that bigger bubble, which is, I love acting and showing sad, depressed people. But of course, I'm a really good actor, so I truly feel sad and depressed. Yes, but I love doing it. It seems contradictory and seems oxymoronic, but it's moreness. It's when we add this extra bubble. It's very powerful. Yes, very, very powerful. Where you learn to become capable of enjoying everything. See, like the actor or the agent who enjoys something which is not typically regarded as enjoyable. There's a way to do it. When we understand the moreness and have bigger overview perspective, we can leverage ourselves. Yes. Yes. And I want to put this in there. We can leverage our It's interesting. I use perspective shifting so much as a compound moreness term. And I use association management, mood management, lots of management. I've never used perspective management before. My application, yes. But that's the first time. We shift, we adapt, we learn. We can leverage ourselves to do so, to enjoy everything, right? In other words, via appropriate perspective management. Very, very cool. Did I spell management wrong? No, no. No, Grammarly. Bad dog. After all, when on an adventure, are there any wrong decisions really or mistakes? Doesn't matter what we do or choose. They all just simply lead to more adventure. And if we have learned to love adventure, then it's all good. Yes, life is easy. I think I want to. When on adventure, I think I want to put this as the quote. Yes. All right. Well, when I post it, then I'll share it. Wonderful, 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 Biella. When on an adventure, are there any wrong decisions really or mistakes? It doesn't matter what we do or choose. They all just simply lead to more adventure. And if we have learned to love adventure, then it's all good. What a quote, what a quote, what a quote, what a quote from Biella Noble. Love you. What a way to end the chapter, Biella. What a powerful. Let's see if there's a PS. And look, I put this younger Biella on an adventure in the jungle here, being thoughtful and being careful. Too much lipstick, young Biella, but I had very hard time getting the art to not show so much lipstick, but it is what it is. But I like this. I like this. On an adventure, yes, but thoughtful as well. Looking deeper into things, seeing the moreness, not just being wild-eyed and excited, or maybe being caught up in the moment of the adventure, right? Seeing the bigger picture of the adventure. Very cool. Very cool. Well done, Sol. Well done, Sol. And you gotta say well done to yourself without being statistical when it is well done. Same thing with that the painting for the this. Oh, this one is nice too. I mean, not so potent. It's just like, think about it a bit. Think about it a bit. There's more. Our personal wants, really. I always thought my wants were bad. Yeah, it's like, wow, you make a good point there. You make a good point there, Biella, right? Like if this was the question. Good point there, Biella. Oh, Biella. That stuff doesn't matter. And then, well done with this. Well done with all the art. This is gonna make this book very different and a big deal. And I truly hope this book does go viral. and become a big deal and a bestseller. Why? Because I feel it would add significantly to the world. I don't just feel it. I'm convinced of it. Yes. I know it will be so. If this book is read in the way it's intended to be read, thoroughly and with consideration and discernment and going slowly through it, I need to put that in the beginning, in the back. That Biella's, what she says is layered. You really have to think about it. And it's not usual. It will take you outside of expectations. But I'll work on that. And you guys can help me on this, to how to say that. I'll share it. It's a big deal. It's a very big deal. All right, good timing. Wow. You see, just one chapter, one chapter. It's only 1,673 words. But that one chapter, just this chapter, when I was a teen and young man, if I'd read this chapter, it would take me a couple of months to process all of this, apply it, think it through, go over it. I did that with other things. I spent years and years and years doing this, making it your own, learning it, applying it. You got to apply it. If you don't apply it, it means nothing. It means nothing. You have to apply it. But I mean, I would have loved to read chapters like this. Typically, I got a lot of stuff which I had to ignore, and I had these little nuggets in between. Like in the Dune book, they're little nuggets, not many of them. But, and I extracted a lot of moreness out of it, like extracting this about understanding evolution of consciousness. Yes, I mean, I do believe that's what Frank Herbert intended, but I can't be sure. He never said specifically that that story was about the evolution of consciousness. But doesn't matter. In this one, it's very clear that this is intended. All this moreness is intended, is deliberate. Right? I would have loved to have this. Maybe that's why I write it, because it's what I truly seek and want, and I get so much joy out of it. And moreness, and art, I love art, and I love appropriate art. I love nuanced art, layered art. You know, in like this especially. I mean, this is moreness on top of moreness on top of moreness, layeredness. Really, I mean, just this little satin on the beach here. It's like, man, universe is a magical place. All right. On that note, let me just refresh and check to see if there's anything more in comments from Norma to respond to, or from Michaela. Maybe I know Michaela just comes and says hello for a few seconds and a minutes. Maybe she can't always stay, and I appreciate that. Said being a single mother is not takes a lot of time, energy, and focus. She comes and says hello for a few seconds and minutes. Maybe she can't, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And, anybody's like Norma was a single mom at some time too. I appreciate this, Norma. I appreciate you. I appreciate your moreness. I appreciate you everything. And Norma says she'll watch the remainder tomorrow. All good, Norma. All good. Always, 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 always as appropriate. As appropriate. So enjoy your meal. Enjoy your meal. I want to click love on this, but you see, it's too slow. It's not letting me come on. That's Facebook being difficult. Facebook being difficult. All right. Sorry to have missed you, Bina, or that you missed us. Don't mind. Tomorrow makes us appreciate Bina more. So all good. On that note, end meeting for all. Oh, fabulous, fabulous.